Fortunately, today we are much better equipped to help veterans through the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of PTSD. The Minneapolis VA has become a leader in PTSD care. This includes our work in rings research, prolonged exposure therapy, and MEG brain studies. In late 2005, Minnesota's largest deployment of National Guard soldiers were about to complete their intensive training at Camp Shelby in Mississippi. Also at this time, the Rings research team began a unique partnership to study readiness and resilience factors before, during, and after this troop's 16-month deployment to Iraq.
The question that we were asking is, can we prospectively, before soldiers even deploy into the combat zone, can we identify factors that will predict who will develop PTSD and who will be more resilient in the aftermath of a combat mission?
1 month prior to their deployment, extensive surveys were used to measure the soldiers' well-being. Once deployed, National Guard leadership was regularly updated by Rings investigators on their findings to help command better understand troop health status.
And so after having conversations with our colleagues about their observations on the ground in Iraq, we developed a survey that would tap into some of those areas of concern and areas that were potential places of resilience. And we actually shipped surveys to Iraq, and our colleagues there administered these surveys to over 2,600 soldiers.
The survey process continued, first 3 months after the soldiers returned home, then again 1 year and 2 years later. Rings research found that the amount of personal life stress, how well prepared soldiers felt for deployment, and the level of worry about deployment impact on family were key factors for soldiers who later developed PTSD. The Minnesota National Guard is preparing for a major deployment and has invited the Rings team to continue their research.
So we have launched a second study that involves surveying a large group of soldiers and their family members, because we want to understand how family members are affected by a deployment and whether there's ways that family members are affected that might impact the health of veterans. The work that I can do in research can have an impact on hundreds or thousands of veterans.
Prolonged exposure therapy was developed by Dr. Edna Foa at the Center for the Treatment and Study of Anxiety in Philadelphia. Research has shown prolonged exposure to be one of the most effective treatments for PTSD and has literally transformed this clinical care.
I think one of the main points that we have to discuss with patients who are considering prolonged exposure therapy is this idea that you're going to go through short-term pain for long-term gain.
In 2007, the VA launched a national initiative of prolonged exposure clinician training workshops, implementing Dr. Foa's work into the veterans' health system. National trainers of prolonged exposure therapy from the Minneapolis VA provide training for clinicians, consultants, interns, and residents locally and across the country. Following these workshops, one-on-one partnerships between consultant and clinician are formed and provide a full year of mentoring on prolonged exposure therapy.
Most clinicians that we consult with are astounded by the results that they get within their work. Oftentimes they'll speak about veterans who they've been working with for years who really haven't responded to the treatment approaches they've been employing up until that point, and then notice significant drops in both symptoms and improvement in overall quality of life.
I did a pretty good job of maintaining a family and providing, but I had these thoughts. It got unbearable to where I thought of ending my life because it was so strong, and then I knew it was time to really get help.
With prolonged exposure therapy, veterans repeatedly work through their painful memories. First under the guidance of a therapist, and then by confronting stressful and avoided daily life situations. As memories become less powerful over time, veterans experience less distress and achieve greater control over the symptoms of PTSD.
I put myself in the middle of a crowd, which was, of course, was very uneasy. It was something that I didn't particularly like to do. But then I faced it. And I could think myself through that situation. Of course, then life got better. It's like the difference between day and night. You know, it's so strong.
The Minneapolis Brain Science Center is one of only a few research facilities in the world with an incredible instrument called MEG, which stands for magnetoencephalography.
It gives you tremendous high fidelity, very accurate, high temporal resolution, and you can do it in humans, and it is totally safe and non-invasive.
MEG sensors safely record brain activity every millisecond, revealing the brain's synchronous neural interaction patterns. Using MEG, Minneapolis researchers, for the first time ever, have identified a neurological marker for PTSD.
The PTSD brain is very different. It has a very different communication pattern than the normal brain. And that is the first time that a brain related sort of deficit or variation was found for PTSD.
In this pivotal work, 3 groups were studied: healthy subjects, subjects with confirmed PTSD, and subjects with PTSD in remission. Research results were astounding. Relative to healthy subjects, subjects with active PTSD consistently showed specific miscommunication patterns in the brain's right temporal lobe. Subjects with PTSD in remission displayed a similar pattern that was less pronounced compared to active PTSD.
Yes, I believe it's a breakthrough, both as a way of looking at brain function, but even more important, for the PTSD, for identifying it and for monitoring, its progress.
The Minneapolis Brain Science Center anticipates more groundbreaking discoveries beyond PTSD, such as the recent collaboration with the Minneapolis Women's Veterans Health Center to study healthy aging brains.
I think this is a wonderful application of this technology in evaluating changes in brain function across the lifespan.